and every week where we discuss all things NFTs. Very special show today because we do have SBF on the show. He's doing a media tour. In case you didn't notice, we were able to land him. And he's here in Miami, which I didn't think was possible. We helicoptered him in from the Bahamas. Pretty cool stuff. Very, very, very excited to hear from SBF. Nick, how excited are you to have SBF on the show?
I could not be more excited to have such a massive guest. I actually, here, maybe we should have him on real quick.
Okay.
But, you know, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We could not be more grateful, more excited, more enthusiastic to have the one and only. And I mean, I just have never been more happy to meet somebody in my life. I've never felt such enthusiasm and joy and warmth in my soul to meet someone, one of the greatest people, frankly, and the energy that I feel right now. I've never been in the presence of such greatness before. Welcome, SBF.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, well, I just wanted to say, thank you again for coming on. And, you know, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
Well, I guess the first thing that I'd like to say is I'm sorry. I'm sorry that people maybe have thought that the things that we've done have not been appropriate. And what I'm focused on really is making things right.
I'm just wondering, SBF, maybe you could explain to us real quick. How are you thinking about, making things right? Like, what do you think you could do right now?
Well, the number one priority is to make customers whole. I don't work at FTX. I don't have access to anything that's FTX related. I think me talking about FTX is literally against the law and I'm going to go to jail, but I'm sorry. And I want to make customers whole.
I've never felt, such deep regret from somebody in my life. And being here and looking at you in person, I just recognize the shame and the guilt that you have right now. Hold on. His arm, for those that are listening in, his arm is shaking a little bit right now. I'm a little bit curious about what is that from? Were you snorting Adderall before this or what's going on?
We do it intravenously at Alameda Research. And so that's what I'm doing today.
So you got an extra dose today just to make sure that you could last through this 6-hour interview I'm about to put you through.
Caroline shot me up.
Okay. Well, this is phenomenal. The question that our audience is particularly interested in is, what are some of your favorite NFTs?
Name the biggest rug pulls and they'll resonate really well with me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring SBF back later in the interview. It's going to be a jam today. We're happy to have him on the show. Easy, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. It's beautiful down in sunny Miami. There was some fog this morning, so that joined SBF in the cloud of judgment he's been partaking in, diving into this media tour. But it's nice. It's been a good week. It's ramping up here now that Basil's starting. I'm excited for the events, excited for the morning show, excited for the Nifty event here tomorrow. That'll be electric. So things are good.
Sounds great. We're waiting. We'll be joined by Spencer relatively soon here at One Up Arcade in Wynwood. We also have a special guest from YouTube that's going to come through, so we're excited about that. Nick, what do you make of what we've seen since SBF was interviewed yesterday? He started his media tour. He was on with Andrew Ross Sorkin. Apparently he's on Good Morning America literally today with George Stephanopoulos. And then he's going to be on, of course, Mario's show on Twitter Spaces. I don't know. What do you make of all this?
Well, I mean, props to Mario on being part of the circuit, I guess. SBF is, I just feel immense sympathy for the guy at this point in time. And I just say, man, we really, he had a bad day. He had a couple bad days there. And I think it's deserving that we all give him a hug. I actually this morning, I in all seriousness was feeling kind of like, who the fuck is going to punch him in the face? Like, I don't understand. Like, hey, let me interview you and be like, Well, I guess that's all we got to ask. This is great. Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, buddy. And the Good Morning America one is in person. I guess none of the others are in person. That's the first one.
Like Stephanopoulos flew down.
Flew out, yeah.
It was pre-recorded though, wasn't the Good Morning America one was pre-recorded.
It's already knocked out.
Yeah, it's already done. So it was technically, I think it happened before his interview yesterday.
Okay, and then there was another one which was well, anyways, yeah. The whole thing is just ludicrous. Or I saw a tweet that was like, "Yo, if they wanted to arrest SBF, they'd do it in like a day." Like the guy, remember how they shut down Tornado Swap like a couple weeks ago? Tornado Cash, yeah. That guy was arrested in 2 days internationally. So that was it. He's now in jail. So, but like, I mean, I feel like it's a better thing. It's just crazy. There's like no negative press coming out about SBF, and it was just him being like, just lying.
Well,
like literally during the whole thing.
Comments too. Shortly after, he was like, "Listen, I feel for the kid. I lost millions."
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary is now like the devil.
Yeah,
like
he
I don't understand.
He was like, "I would give him more money."
Oh, that guy's funny on Shark Tank to literally the devil. Like I don't understand. Someone needs to do a sketch of like Shark Tank, but instead you come in and like, okay, I'm gonna start this pitch. A little bit about my background. I've killed 6 people. I robbed a grandma the other day. Kevin O'Leary is just like, "You're funded."
Funded, and I want 2% royalty.
Here's $1 million. Like we could not be more thrilled to have you. So I think that's like the thing that I don't know. It's just ridiculous at this point in time. There's not a lot to say on the matter, but I mean, actually there is, but most of it's just that he's a piece of shit. Everyone's still covering I'm excited that we were first to go to the Bahamas. Everyone's still covering the Bahamas. Literally every tweet I now see is from someone being like, "I'm gonna fly down to the Bahamas and ask somebody." There's the next story. Like, move on to the next one, which is like, who are the people being robbed? Who are the people that are like invested in this business, basically? Where are the other like 4 other people involved in this? Is anybody adding like interviewing? I saw in the bankruptcy proceedings, there was a list of names. I'm just giving tips at this point because I mean,
you're just sick of the FTX.
It's literally what's going through my head right now is I'm like, these are the 15 people I need to contact. They're the next on my list. Like, and there is good content that exists in there. At this point, though, like the interview with SBF, it's pretty clear. The guy's like a professional criminal. He had set up like a lot of the stuff from the beginning. This was a crime. He didn't have a bank. FTX didn't have a bank. That to me is just like, what? Okay, so you legit like, and it's not like he didn't understand having a bank. They had like 100 corporations that were structured. If you go through the list of top money laundering companies in offshore banking countries, it's all where all of the entities of FTX are located. You got Virgin Islands, you got the Bahamas, you got Cayman Islands, you got Malta, you got Cyprus. You have literally, that's the organization. So they have a money laundering business basically set up. They don't have official bank accounts. I don't understand. Like, this is to just have a conversation with the guy is now at this point just offensive. Like, because that's what it came across. Are you lying to us right now? Are you lying, SBF? Like, I don't like there's anger that exists, and instead it's like fodder. Could you imagine? Who's the biggest Ponzi scheme?
Bernie
Madoff. Could you imagine him like just like on the news the morning after being like, "Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. It's Bernie Madoff. Standing ovation. Thank you for having me at this conference, everybody. I appreciate it. Yes, I did just wreck millions of families everywhere around the world, but you don't know them because you all are rich. And so, and you're all going to get your money anyways because you all are rich. So it's going to work out for you." So I don't know. The whole thing is just like absolutely ludicrous, and not included in any of this perspective is real anger. And instead it's more like cartoon shit, right? Like, I mean, I guess like we even we added a comical aspect to it. But some of the stuff where like
it wasn't empathetic to SBF though.
Well, I think like BitBoy starts with a threatening like perspective where it's like, I'm coming for you, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna be on Spaces with SBF. Looking forward to it. Check that out, everybody. Gonna be fun. So and like, what is he gonna do? If it's in person, then I'm like, now the thing that you're aiming for is literally smacking him on camera. That would be my goal. Like, but you got to pretend that you're not going to, and then smack the shit out of him, and at a minimum. So that's kind of where I'm at this point in time for the sort of SBF sort of visuals that I'm looking for during an interview. Stab him, like I think some sort of violence involved is something that I'm interested in. I don't condone violence against most people, but when I do, it's against SBF. And that's kind of how I think about it.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. So we went from taking a picture at SBF's penthouse to getting a picture of his car to getting a picture of him to now we're in the smack him in the face segment of, covering this news. So look, let's dive into this weather report as prepared by Signal. Signal's the best. We're going to run it right here. Volume in the NFT market, $8.3 million on OpenSea, $4.4 million on Blur. You're seeing Blur continue to gain market share. What's so funny, Nick?
Nothing. You're really articulating. 8.4 million. Breaking news right now.
It's a good amount of money. The leaders in the NFT space, Apes at 68.9 Ethereum, Mutants at 13, Punks at 65.64. We got Moonbirds at 8.7 Ethereum, Doodles at 7, and Clone X strong at 8.4. Over the past 24 hours, Punks lead the ranks, but it's Killer Bears at number 2 on OpenSea. Franelations, you're here in person with us. You buy any Killer Bears? No, I'm surprised. I saw him. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Fran has a bag of these.
I heard that their ecosystem just sell shames the hell out of people who exit too. They're like, if you sell it, they just belittle you in the Discord. So I think it's led to part of this pump. Like people are genuinely rattled to exit.
Get bullied if you don't sell, or if you sell a Killer Bear. Number 2 on OpenSea. The collection continues to see rare sales coming in after a bear sold for 40 ETH. Yesterday morning, the floor was at 2.7, and now at the time that this was written, it's at 3.4 ETH. The memes by Punk6529 was also one of the top movers. Yesterday, a new card drop, Morning's Eve by Dolce Pagane, and is trading at 0.69 ETH, while the collection floor is up overnight, holding 0.25 Ethereum floor.
Wait, so they added another NFT to the collection?
They added more, baby. That's how it works. Add more. DGen Tunes, a project from earlier this year, had a strong run after the team hinted at the closet and more holder utility. The floor ran from 0.5 to a high of 0.9 before settling at 0.7 ETH this morning. We'll have to see if that's able to hold or if they'll run out of gas. Lastly, big day for Web3. Zen Academy announced that holders can burn their letter, which was the ERC 1155 token, and summon their Zen chest, which has future utility and a profile picture inside, coming Q1 2023. And Rug Radio announced an upcoming PFP collection with Corey Van Loo for Genesis rug holders. Corey Van Loo, of course, the artist that did the Mike Tyson collab that performed very well in 2021. Last but not least, crypto updates. Bitcoin's at 17,000 US dollars, Ethereum at 1283, and Solana down at $13.80. Crypto seeing some signs of green shoots. That's your weather report from Signal. Nick,
What?
It looks like you want to chime in.
Green shoots?
That's what Signal
They
wrote.
pumped yesterday off of
No, but what does that mean? What are green shoots?
Signal wrote it, man.
the opposite of a red shoot.
That's a British thing. Maybe it's like springtime, like a flower, budding in the great weather. Thanks to in the warmth of Miami. It's quite humid down here as well, and maybe that's a contributing factor.
Are you sweaty right now?
No, but I feel I don't feel clammy, but it increase the humidity just a little bit, and I'd probably be there.
Thanks for the info. Last updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. Daigaku CEO Gabe Layden announced that the upcoming Super Bowl ad will feature the first ever live free mint on a TV commercial, which will be viewed by over 50 million people and tens of millions online. Very interesting. That's exciting.
How much does a Super Bowl ad cost?
A lot.
But like theoretically,
I think it's like $5 million.
Okay, so what would happen if next year somebody just drops a phishing link in a QR code? Like, do you think they'd recoup their cost of the Super Bowl commercial? Like, we were talking on this on the space this morning. Like, instead of doing this with a free mint, like, what happens if someone's like, listen, we're just gonna throw the $5 million. I think we can make it back.
Well, yeah. And what brand would you be interested in phishing you?
You bring up a good point.
Easy's criminal mind manifests itself.
We have SBF on, so it's rubbing off on me here.
You know who wouldn't do that? Doritos.
Shout out to Doritos, the beverage sponsor of today's show. Drink a Doritos, you won't get fish. Next story. NFT trading.
You won't get fish or fished?
You won't get fish. You will get fish because they're also a seafood company. No, I'm just kidding. NFT trading is live on Uniswap, allowing traders to buy and sell NFTs across major marketplaces. The company also airdropped about 5 million USDC to historical Genie users. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I didn't go and claim it yet. Is the claim window still open?
It's still open. So the
There's
way that
also-
they did it, it's if you use Genie before a certain day, you get $300. It's like a pretty flat airdrop. And then if you, I forget what the second stipulation is, you get 1,000. So there's two tiers: a $300 airdrop and 1,000.
I better get 1,000.
You know, Kix is getting 1,000.
No, because Kix use Gem a lot. So we were talking.
He used Genie a lot too.
So we all got 300 because we've just used Genie before. I think it was like June 21st. But then you have to do a whole bunch of other stuff, I guess, to get the 1,000. So it seemed like most people got $300.
Okay, well, we'll have to see.
Well, there's also like claims going on for like, well, we can get into it afterwards, but like punks have been getting a bunch of claims, and also
and the Blur airdrop next week.
Yeah, you know what? So there was an updated phishing link I saw last night that almost fell for, but I'm on my phone, so I can't get phished on my phone. Saw a link. Last night's one was for Yuga Labs dropping some claim basically for the Adidas thing. There was a video trailer of Adidas, and it's like, oh, here's the Adidas partnership. So I clicked in to check it out, and then I'm like, wait, hold up. I didn't go and claim it, but it was these are getting like really good.
You want a target audience because, like, dude, you're not going to be the first one to claim one of these. You will see Twitter talking about it before. Like,
no, I know.
And you're sprinting to click these links, man. Like speed running these links. You're like, oh, it's a blue URL. I'm slamming the mint button.
All right, let's move on to the next subject.
Next story, NFT marketplace Blur will have its second airdrop on Monday. The team tweeted, airdrop 2 is 10x bigger than airdrop 1, and all activity until then will be counted. Solana news, Elixir NFT rose 25% off over 5.5K SOL volume from 7.35 to 12 SOL after the strong community sentiment shifted toward the automated market maker. Underground Labs sold out.
What does that even mean? What is Elixir NFT?
So it's just like a pseudo swap type of thing on Solana, but they've taken it like one step further where they're creating like baskets to create like ETFs of NFTs. So you'll be able to buy into
I love that.
Market caps over, say, 100 million. So you'd be able to get a portion of a portion of a DeGod, portion of a robot, and it basically just the underlying token moves with the floor price.
So I want that. I want to have my money in an NFT pool. If I could then stake that money, take a loan out against that would get really interesting for I'm guaranteed to make some fast cash.
It sounds like a good plan for sure. Those are your updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. You can sign up at thenifty.com, written by Signal 5 days a week. Absolutely love hearing about the stories in the NFT space from the Nifty Daily Digest. So Nick, besides getting fished over and over again, it sounds like, what other activity are you looking at in the NFT market right now? Are NFTs just dead?
Do we have any other chairs for people? That's the thing I'm wondering about here.
We got 2.
Okay.
He means out there.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just
We
wondering.
have 2 more people coming, Danny. We have 2 more. Yeah.
But anyways, in terms of what I'm thinking about, I don't know. I'm wondering, like, if SBF has any thoughts on the on today's morning up. No, we're gonna use that one.
We know that SBF is sorry.
Okay. So,
do we know anything else?
I just thought maybe I could ask SBF some questions.
We can bring him in.
Wait, you think he's willing to come back?
It seems that he's willing to do any and all media at this point.
I'm wondering what's the who are you most threatened by?
I'm not really thinking about threats, but I guess if I had to pinpoint one person, I think it would be BitBoy Crypto, because he literally took a picture of my pills, and I need those, and I wouldn't want him to take them away.
Thank you.
There's your SBF appearance. Killer Bears, meanwhile, pushing 4 ETH. Are you a buyer here?
Fuck no. Well, I'm not buying any NFT over 1 ETH at this point in time. That would be my like. Actually, that's not true. I
was gonna say that sounds very false.
You're waiting for punks to get down to 1 ETH to buy another.
to 1 ETH. There's no way that's happening.
The market would have to implode.
So we got ultra special guests, motherfucking Giancarlo from YouTube. Giancarlo buys tokens. The sold out crowd. Please give Giancarlo a round of applause. Here we go. Shout out to Midnight Labs. Shout out to Giancarlo's YouTube channel. Welcome to the show, amigo.
Thank you, man. 1 hour in Miami traffic. I was sick.
So
my 1 hour.
Well, my first question is: you come to Art Basel in Miami, you stay in Fort Lauderdale. Explain.
I fucked up. There's no explanation. No, apparently the traffic is way worse this week. I didn't factor that in when I booked it. I was like, oh yeah, 15, 20 minutes. Absolutely not. It was an hour.
Why Fort Lauderdale though versus the city of Miami, where the event's actually happening?
So I used to live in Fort Lauderdale when I was a kid. So I was like, you know what, it'd be cool to be in the old hood.
Okay.
Maybe just
Special
see the
place
old
in your
spots.
heart.
But yeah, big mistake if you're staying out here.
For for NFT New York, I think we should all just stay in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you think?
I take the train in for every single meeting.
You're a New Jersey guy, and I'm
yeah.
expecting you to do that.
Right.
You're just doxing his location
I know.
there. What's your address, Giancarlo? In terms of I'm surprised. I mean, it's impressive you made it in an hour, frankly, because it took us like 2.5 to make it across a bridge the other day. So that's the
meetings are all
environment
over.
down here.
The presentations all over the place. Like, I don't know. Miami for this type of event is like, it's tough compared to New York, for example, which I think overall this might be a better event, but it felt a little more concentrated for me over there.
Yeah. Well, you also have a subway
Yeah.
if you really want to get around and you don't want to take a taxi. Although also like the city's used to having millions of people inside of it. So it's kind of hard to like drastically impact things unless you're the president or something like that.
Or you're Giancarlo. He can move the needle. So Giancarlo, obviously you're coming here repping Midnight Labs. You posted like some really dope thoughts in a thread and in a YouTube video about the casino and the factory, which was your metaphor for the current state of affairs with NFTs. Here we are weeks after the FTX debacle. We got SBF, doing a media tour right here. No criminal charges. A lot of people rug. Biggest rug pull that we've ever seen in crypto.
Right.
When has anyone rugged more than $10 billion? This is the biggest one ever. What's the deal with the factory and the casino? And what are you thinking about? You're incredibly analytical, definitely the smartest person on this stage right now. What are you thinking about where we're at in the NFT market right now?
Spencer's offended, by the way. He just showed up.
Oh, Spencer's here. Yeah, okay. We got 2 people smarter than everybody else on the show. But I'd love to hear about the factory and the casino and where we're at in the NFT market right now.
Well, first off, I appreciate the hype up. That's half the reason I did the hour trip is just always the intro.
There you go.
Well, and you're live on YouTube right now.
Yeah, you're also on YouTube.
Your audience is about to double.
We gotta squeeze in this way a little bit just to get Giancarlo. There we go. Perfect. We'll shift over when Spencer's there too.
All right. The casino and the factory was just my attempt of kind of explaining what I'm seeing in terms of NFTs and where I think we're going and why things are fading. So if you think of like all the NFTs that we're talking about here, or most of them, and everything over the past year, the product's basically been an investment contract of some kind, like a pseudo
financial instrument
where you're investing into like some open-ended, long-term Disney, like next Disney type thing, and really people are just buying it for the number, right? And they're just like looking at all these NFTs as numbers on the screen, and when they compare them, it's just like all coins with pictures, as Kobe said it. And that is like fading at this point. Like that, we presented that to the world for a year, and we got a few 100,000 people that were like, "Oh, that's cool," and everyone else was like, "This is disgusting. This is like a Ponzi. Like, what are you guys doing?" And so I think we've hit the cap on that. Meanwhile, the infrastructure is being put in place. Big brands are coming in. They're not going to be doing small, scarce supply NFTs to make a few people rich. That's really not the play. That doesn't scale, and that makes more people angry than the few thousand people that are getting rich. And so what I think is that so far we've done the casino side of NFTs, and the next side is going to be the factory, which is just creating actual consumer products that have consumable value, that have like just scale. Like Reddit avatars, or everyone just has like this free avatar that they just got it because it was cool and not because they hope to flip it. And I don't think people talk about that because it's not as interesting in terms of content. Like people always want to know, okay, how am I going to make money on that in the next few weeks? Or, where's the 10X here? And there will still be opportunities. Like all these ecosystems will have like their limited collectibles, but in general, it's just going to be consumers just buying tokens just for whatever, access to something, a cosmetic skin. And I just think that's the direction we're going. And I don't see much of that yet, even at this conference. But over the next like 6 months, I think those applications are going to be way bigger. Like if you look at the audience for like Reddit avatars, they eclipsed OpenSea's total lifetime users, which is like one product. And so if we just start seeing like Starbucks do something similar, and Disney will maybe do something with their parks or whatever, each one of those is just going to be huge. So that when I think of like the makeup of the NFT like audience a year from now, it's going to be like, in my opinion, majority of these products, and then we're never going back to the casino products becoming like the biggest part of the space.
Well, so I want to talk more about that. I want to shout out Gratitude Hotels pulling up with the Cuban breakfast again. He said he was going to bring it every day this week. He was not kidding. I think we should share it with the audience, as we can't just eat during the show, and we got another hour.
Yourself.
Yeah, Nick's going to chow down. He's no stranger to doing that. So Giancarlo, I think that what you're talking about is the separation of financial instruments and entertainment products, right? And this is what the CEO of Animoca Brand said to us, is that once you see people getting NFTs, whether they get them for free or they buy them as entertainment products versus financial instruments, that's when you're going to actually see mass adoption. Yeah. Do you think it comes from gaming? You said that 2023 was going to be like the year of the NFT. What makes you think that?
Well, I just think that's when we're first going to start seeing these brands come in. They're working on things like Reddit now has a base, let's say, of 3 million people. That's just I keep going to that because that's the best example so far.
Sure.
But they have 3 million people that they can now sell like licensed avatars into, like Star Wars avatars, whatever. And so I just think in 2023 we're going to start seeing those, and we really only need one or two of those to take off for it to eclipse what we have right now, which is like a tiny like niche PC audience size of a space. So it doesn't take much to do more than that.
So do you think like the dilution aspect of that though is going to have any negative correlation, or do you think it just ends up bringing just more eyes in general is a good thing? Like we saw their World Cup avatars, they sold out in 48 hours basically. And we did see some large sales on like the lower numbered ones and the ones that people thought would end up winning the World Cup. So like Argentina moved, Germany moved, Portugal, and all like the very low digit ones.
Where are those avatars?
On Reddit.
Yeah,
Reddit. Reddit avatars.
They dropped like a second collection the first day of the World Cup. So, like, I'm curious, do you think that because of that, like the branding aspect, do you think the dilution could have a negative effect on it? Or do you think it's going to
What do you mean by negative effect? Like on the price?
Not even the price, just like too many into too small of a group. Like not even the price, just people move past it almost.
Like does it become a CryptoKitties thing?
Yeah, like there's no interest because it's like, oh, they drop these every day. Like who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to them to like curate how they launch that. So they have, like I said, about 3 million wallets. The CEO has said he's trying to get to 10 million. So they do have like a plan to like triple this at least. And then, yeah, it's just a matter of, how often they're putting them out, what kind of branded items there are. If you think of like a Fortnite, how many people own a skin in Fortnite? The John Wick skin, millions and millions of people.
More than the whole NFT ecosystem.
And it's, we're so like attached to also very unique looking, like non-fungible designs. But that's not really, if you look at gaming, people are more than happy just wearing the same skin as other people just because it's cool, and you pay whatever $10 for it. Doesn't have to have like your hat, like that's not really as important outside of the NFT space.
The one thing that does stand out though is like they didn't do a lot of time I wonder like how you make those initial ones like truly special. And like, is it really as simple as just putting a stamp on it saying like, this is the Genesis, and and then you can just like immediately go out and drop all these others? Or like, do you need to let time pass in order for that to go down? I think like a lot of the ones that just like rapidly start churning in advance of audience size. Do you know that you said there's 3 million, it's 3 million unique wallets?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's like an insane number.
You bring up the Genesis thing too. Like, I think Pokemon's a great example of that. Like, they literally just have the edition. Like, the first edition Charizard is worth 100x edition 2, just simply because it has a small piece of text on it. And like, I think that is actually like what we end up getting into is like, they can re-release things, but if it's that first edition from the first line, it has this like inherent value to collectors like down the line.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all speculative in terms of like front running the price action on that sort of things. It's like Magic the Gathering cards when like no one even knows how the game is played.
They just got in a ton of hot water for their 30th anniversary ones because they basically just reprinted the $100,000 cards and were like, oh, you can't use these in competitive play, but you own them. So like they got in a bunch of hot water for just releasing them and making $1,000 a box.
Yeah,
$1,000 a trading card pack.
Okay.
But
so how many did they release?
They released a very small number. It's mostly that they're like the big critique with Hasbro there has been that they've been like just not diluting supply, but like clamoring for wallets. So they've been printing a lot of new high dollar items, and there's like wallet fatigue within collectors. And they've also printed a lot of high dollar items that have precipitously gone down in value very quickly. One thing I was curious about, though, that you were saying, so this 3 million wallet number from Reddit, I feel like has been questioned a lot in the sense of like a lot of the people who have these wallets, they were auto-generated for them just for having accounts. Like, do you think that this path towards mass adoption where we have maybe people who don't know they're interacting with blockchain or don't even opt into operating with blockchain? For example, you know, we saw Starbucks roll out rewards programs that are like on chain, but you don't really know that they're on chain. Reddit, in a similar way, really the active users is much, much, much smaller than the people who like had wallets auto-generated from them. Do you think we see that adoption happen over time, or is that just like a marketing ploy right now from these bigger players to sort of puff up their numbers?
Well, I think a lot of people criticize that number because like you said, there were very few people trading, right? But there's some caveats with that. So like one, they don't have a Reddit native marketplace yet. So to trade, like I traded one of these avatars and you have to like go to OpenSea. You got to go to like Polygon. You have to understand the UI. It was annoying even for me. And so I imagine once the native marketplace is there, there'll be more people just trading in app. The other thing is that most people got the free avatar, which is not really worth trading. It's like a free thing. Whereas there was like a few thousand limited collectibles, and that's what people were trading. And if you look at who's buying those limited collectibles for like 1 ETH or whatever, those are just NFT Twitter people. Those are just like us, and we were the marketers too. So it's kind of cool how the very limited collectibles, that's where you get like the threads and the videos or the people that are buying those, while most people are just like happy with their free one. And so, yeah, you're right. They haven't been actively trading, but I think if they were to launch tomorrow a Pokemon Reddit avatar, a decent chunk of those 3 million people would buy it. If it was like $10 or $20, I think we'd see some conversion there. And then just like, how does that eventually play out? Like, what if now Pokemon says, oh, because you have the Pokemon avatar on Reddit, you can like access this other on-chain drop on this other website. And that's where we start seeing like, okay, how many of these people are actually joining the ecosystem?
Well, I think the conversion rate can increase too if like they allow subreddits to drop avatars for their like participants.
Right.
Like I think that's a seriously undertapped market for Reddit. Is like if you frequent a subreddit there, it's its own entire niche community. And if you have people in that launching just for people who have like say 6 months of the time in that or joining that, that's a much higher conversion rate, I think, opportunity, because now you can also like tie and prove like, oh, I've been here a while. Like if Wall Street Bets launched an NFT for people who have been in there pre the GameStop run up that led to a ton of traction, then it's like, oh, you have the avatar, you're like an OG.
Yeah.
Or it then drives even like more of a market cycle because people want to buy that to be like, oh, I've been here, even if they haven't. I think there's a psychological aspect to that where like that's a bigger market for people that could potentially open up doors for like people who hate the idea, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'd definitely like an NFT that would show, like, or based on how long you've been on Reddit or something like that, because there were a lot of people in the NFT space that weren't even on Reddit, and then
got 6 years under my belt.
Yeah, everyone just signed up, dude. Bro, I was on Reddit before you were born. That's how long I've been on Reddit. So it would make sense. But the I think that it's just anything that like represents that is interesting. The thing that's challenging, it's more just reflection of identity, which is an exciting way to do it. The thing that also was interesting was what everyone's been saying about the fact that they're on Matic, and that there is the potential. The biggest thing will be like, who's the first partner that works off of Reddit NFTs, basically, like where that unlocks something on another like area of the blockchain, and that to me is exciting, because that's like the use case that frankly like justifies using a blockchain. Outside of, there's also the fact that you own it, but the more important thing is the fact that there's like portability, and that there's like compatibility with other projects. And that's been like a vision of all of the people who were like, even Google had tried to do that with social networking. They were going to quote out open Facebook, was kind of the way they were thinking about. Oh, we'll get the other social networks to work with us, which is hilarious because no one gave a shit about any of the other social networks at that point in time. It was things like MySpace, Orkut, and like some other I don't know, any other now non-existent site that they were utilizing, and Google Plus. But I think of back to those sorts of days, that was like the promise that everyone like a lot of the technology people wanted, but I don't think consumers were like demanding. But if there's some use case that ends up happening where you can take those things, those NFTs, and actually utilize them somewhere else other than a PFP that lets you just like flex on Twitter that you're part of that niche sub community, I don't know. That to me is the thing that I'm sort of just personally waiting on, or your Reddit avatar inside of Fortnite.
I mean, that to me has always been like one of the best use cases for NFTs. Is just like the permissionless ability for anyone else to like take your token and add it to like some whitelist or some other event that you can then participate in. And when you think about it, like if you have all these collections that we have in NFTs right now that are 2,000, 5,000 people, that use case doesn't scale. Like if I'm doing some product, I'm not as interested in like white gloving a 2,000 person collection. But if you now have like a 1 million person collection, like a Reddit avatar, now that's more interesting as a brand to be like, okay, let me do something with them, because even if I get 1% conversion, it's a decent amount of people. And so I think once we see large collections and all of us owning, like we don't all own the same things. I mean, what would be the most common NFT that we own? We're all sort of siloed in these tiny communities, right? But eventually, when I think we'll go to Art Basel, and everyone will have like common large scale projects that we're a part of, and that there's these big brand collaborations happening with. I think that's a lot more interesting than right now, where we're all sort of like, oh, I'm in the Azuki clan and you're in the Bored Ape clan, and we're not really doing anything together.
I mean, you have a point. It's like it's so segmented. Yeah. I went to an event in New York, and it was like a CloneX, like mostly CloneX holders, and I was just like, this is so niche. Yeah. Like think about it. You go to an event, like 9 people are there, like I got CloneX, and I'm like, oh, like do you know like John Carlos? No, no idea. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like they're like, no, I'm like into CloneX. It's just like being into one thing.
I'm into toys. KB Toys. I was there the other night, but and I had to get a CloneX toy. It was so exciting.
It's just strange to me. It's like no, I'm just kind of just into that.
The common thread is like the tech and the vision, but it's like a very loosely held thing that we all kind of connect with. It's not really that strong.
The little tribes. I mean, dude, I just remember like someone edited this hilarious video from one of our YouTube things, and he edited it because we talked about Ape Gang. Mm-hmm. And I hit him up and I was like, are you looking to like edit videos? Like, are you like a video editor? He's like, nah, I just like really like Ape Gang, and I'm in college, so I can't do anything else. But if you guys talk about Ape Gang, I'll edit it. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is just the weirdest thing ever. Like, I'm offering you basically a job to do this shit. And he's like, yeah, if you talk about Ape Gang, then for sure. I was like, okay, bro. You probably own 1 or 2, like that. Yeah. Think about that, Well, but go ahead.
I was gonna say also, like, the thing that you're saying, and I was talking with him last night, is Gabe Layden with Limit Break. Like, that's his thesis, right? Where like his thesis is he used to pay like $60 a download for someone to download a free to play game, right? He sees
what event was Gabe Layden at there?
What
event were you talking to him at?
It wasn't an event.
Oh,
but he was like, look, like if downloading an NFT,
just had a phone call.
No, I actually just ran into him at an event. I was with actually Luca from Pudgy Penguins and Frank from DeGods, and we ran into Gabe at like a rooftop somewhere.
right there.
God damn, like he's just flexing on us real quick, glossed over that.
You asked. So
I mean, you can't just name drop like that and not give any context. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'm just sitting here chatting with Gabe.
But this is
I was just showing with Vitalik last night.
Events because you roll in, you run into people that are like shakers of industry. But his whole take on this entire industry, he's like, look, like the same. I think this is your Reddit avatar take, which he's like, if downloading NFTs or like, getting my NFT, even if I give it to you for free, makes you feel part of the thing that I'm doing. He's like, that scales as a customer acquisition channel for a company, right? And that's a way to go launch into something. I think I don't know that I fully agree with this take personally. I think that NFTs are luxury. I think that it's okay to have limited supply, but I think like there is something to be said for if you think mass adoption is coming, selling people NFTs isn't the business model. Using NFTs to get people into something, like that makes sense, right? That's a way to bring them in. And then you do all the other stuff that you do is the business model, right? But the ownership, the digital identity, all those things, like you don't need to make money off of. And I think this is where we see like right now, like the $1 million question for NFT projects in the space today is like, how do you make money? Do you make money as a brand outside of NFTs and then roll that back? I mean, that's what you guys are doing, right? Like with the sponsorships of this show, like you make money outside of it, you roll it back. You don't need to make money from the whole.
For now, I mean, yeah, that's been working. It's been a good few months. You know?
Yeah, but like not every NFT project is doing this. Like some NFT projects, the PFPs especially, very few are doing what you guys are doing. Like most of the PFPs don't have revenue. They're losing their secondary royalties, right? Like what is this space becoming? Is it continuing to try and make money from the holders, or does holdership mean something different? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Giancarlo coined it slow bankruptcies. And I mean, that's what else would it be? Like, think about it. We just saw this project. You're going to get a kick out of this Crash Test Joyride that the founders rugged. And it's because what it came down to was the primary sale was not big enough for everybody to drop everything. It wasn't a $4 million, $5 million primary sale like we've seen. So the founders couldn't quit their day job. So everybody still got a job, right? Made a little bit of coin off the primary sale.
Made a couple $1 million.
No, like what? Made 400 grand.
Oh, combined?
That's like total. Like do the math
that's
on
not
things.
A lot. Okay.
It's not a lot, right? Made 500 grand, right? So no one can quit their job. Okay, great. So no one can quit their job. Perfect. Royalties basically go to zero. There is no alternative revenue model for any NFT collection. We're fortunate that we do content, so we have a sponsorship or maybe in the future productized consulting, who the hell knows, but we have the sponsorship revenue model, period. So we actually have a functioning business. No one else has that, including Bored Ape Yacht Club. I know, obviously, I'm exaggerating. There's caveats. They have enough funding to last for 5 years. They're building a major metaverse platform. They will have revenue in the future. But right now, no business model. Also, there's like 7 total collections in the whole space that actually have that position, right? Venture funding, 5-year runway, blah, blah, blah. Everybody else, right? Making no money off of royalties, none. And if you say that you're going to sell another NFT, everybody that holds your NFT is going to be like, what the hell is this? So basically, you have holders that expect you to be an indentured servant. So Crash Test Joyride gets to the point where the founders are like, well, the business isn't making any money. We all still have day jobs, didn't make enough money to quit our jobs. There's no business model. So what else is going to happen? They end up rugging, right? Everybody's like outraged. What did you think was going to happen? You thought they were going to just work for free on this collection for the next 10 years? It just doesn't make sense. It's a slow bankruptcy. So I'm just pointing it out.
If you go to Kickstarter, which I went the other day, they still have Kickstarters that make millions of dollars, and the expectations from the people who are donating or whatever is much lower than an NFT, right? Like you'll get the product early or something. But if you look at the transparency and the detail in like their roadmap and how they're going to get to their product and the timelines and everything, it's just like night and day to what you get with NFTs, and they're asking for much more money with NFTs, which I think is hilarious. So yeah, nobody really has it's not expected that you provide a solid kind of breakdown. It's like, here's how we're going to make money. We're going to release this product. It's going to take us 3 months. Digidaigaku is a good example because you obviously know that they've made games. And to your point, like there's always going to be that luxury good at the top, but I think it requires many people at the bottom enjoying the product in some other way, and that value sort of flows to the top because that's like the desired thing in that ecosystem. So you're like banking that they're going to have the game, he's going to do the Super Bowl commercial, they're going to have like tens of thousands of people with the the cheaper or the free version of the NFT, and then people are going to look at the Digidaigaku Genesis, and that's like the holy grail, and that's how the value starts going up, and collectors care about it. But you can't just start with that and be like, this is everything. You have to have a product where people are into it for some other reason.
And he raised an ass load of money at $1 billion valuation, has an ass load of money, right? And has a background where he already built, like, I guess, $1 billion or something gaming ecosystem in mobile gaming, like free-to-play gaming before. Spencer?
Yeah, I think it's like an interesting thing too, because on the one hand, like, we're going to see this, right? Like, we're going to see a lot of projects just completely filter out during this period of time for all the reasons we're saying. It's really tough to run a brand. That being said, I do think that in another more positive macro environment, like, the opportunities to make money are there for a project. Like, we didn't, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, we weren't sitting here saying, oh, this project that's doing like, a couple tens of millions of volume per day or week or whatever is going to have trouble monetizing, right? We're saying that now because there's a couple $1 million across the whole industry per day. But we will filter out like most collections during this period of time. Those that don't filter out, however, I think in the next macro, like strong macro environment, will have this huge advantage on anyone else that tries to release a new collection. And so I'm excited to see who sticks it out, who sticks around, who, even though there is no reason to stick around, like, they're not making money, they can't quit their day job, whatever it is, right? Who comes in, who's able to figure out how to make it work during this period of time will have such a huge like head start advantage, I think, in the next cycle.
I was gonna say, should we like figure out some way to give away to the portal to one of the people, one of the million people that showed up here? Yeah, of course. I feel like I just don't have a clever approach to actually doing it. Maybe a quick fight to the death, like a brawl, like that. Maybe. So we're gonna be, hey, just start wrestling. And get ready. There's going to be a wrestling match coming up. We'll come up with something in the interim, improvisationally.
We're literally next to like an old school.
Oh
arcade.
yeah,
it should just be like a Donkey Kong.
It was right in front of my face. Actually, yeah, we'll do a video game tournament. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Although we have maybe two. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll figure that out in the interim. We can move on to other NFT talk in the while we're waiting on figuring out the logistics there. We'll stream that. We'll post a record of the people, or at least we'll publish a video of the contest after the fact.
So since we have Giancarlo here and Spencer, I want to dive into like layer twos or just, I guess, alternative chains that could have a real future. We've talked about Solana a lot. Obviously, that's kind of like Easy's home. A lot of people got spooked after the FTX situation that, like maybe Solana wouldn't be here to stay in the long run. And then meanwhile, you see Polygon gaining crazy traction, right? Apparently their biz dev team's unbelievable, massive partnerships. The Reddit, you've brought up Reddit a bunch of times. That shit was on Polygon. What do you think the future looks like with Solana and Polygon? Do you think that's like what ends up happening with NFTs? Because like Digidaigaku, free to play, free to mint, that stuff's all on Ethereum. Where do you think that like these other chains fit into the picture? And like, would you be buying Matic and Solana now at the bottom of the bear market with the expectation of them having like, outsized performance?
I mean, buying the coins is a different question, I think, because, how much do these coins capture value from the activity? I don't really know the answer to that one. And how much valuation is in there that is not tied to NFTs at all, that needs to deflate from where we're at now? I also don't know the answer to that. Generally, when I thought of Solana originally, I thought it would be a big differentiator when you have NFTs that have a lot of interaction and real time, just transactions, things like games, things like dynamic NFTs, which we didn't really see materialize. Like when you look at Solana, it ended up being just like the same static 10,000 profile pic collections that were popular there. And so I was like, okay, that kind of defeats the purpose of Solana, other than like the cheap gas, which now no longer is really a huge advantage. Same thing with Polygon. So I think right now, I don't see a huge reason to launch there unless you're doing something super dynamic. But in the future, as we start seeing gaming and these like more complex, high transaction throughput type projects, then it makes more sense. I just don't know how long that takes.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you got to look at, I even think Arbitrum comes into this mix too, where like there are these L2s. And I think one of the interesting things about L2s or like Solana sort of being lumped into this group as well is like they have a centralized entity that can do biz dev, right? like Polygon can go out and invest in companies. Like they have venture capital that they deploy. Like they can go out and they can pay people to come build games on their platform, right? Is that enough, right? Is that powerful enough? I think the L2s on Ethereum have a pretty sizable advantage over Solana. I could be totally wrong here, right? I heard a lot of smart people recently saying that they think like buying the Solana dip will be like buying the like $80 Ethereum of this cycle. Like, and I see that being a totally reasonable like take. I think the challenge is going to be that what just happened in the Solana ecosystem, I think spooked a lot of people. Like it just showed how much like risk you have to just the volatility of the entire Solana project as someone building on it. Ethereum, I feel like it's not going anywhere. Being an L2 on Ethereum, like, you have that relational halo effect to ETH. There's benefits, but I don't think it's going to be like one chain's going to just win over the other. It's going to be a similar thing where I don't see Solana going to zero. Like if that was going to happen, it probably would have already happened. It may go down precipitously. Like we could still see a 70% drawdown from where we're at right now. And that's my biggest reservation for buying Solana today, is that I just don't know where like true value price discovery is. And there's a lot of people with a lot of Solana that might get liquidated, right?
My question is like, I haven't been super deep on Solana recently, but like, is there a project that could theoretically reach a large number of people? Because if I look at Polygon, I think they have many shots on goal to hit like 50 million people, right? Like they have like Instagram. It's like, okay, what if Instagram launches like avatars? Like, okay, maybe they nail the execution on that, and now you're at like 50 million, 100 million people just overnight. And they have like, Reddit, and they have these other shots on goal that are massive potential. Is there anything on Solana that could theoretically in a year or two hit like millions and millions of people?
Easy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's tough to say because they've taken shots too. Like there are companies and projects that are doing things to try to get that exposure. Like what Google did too, but then they also did it shortly thereafter with a couple other like L2s to provide like node coverage and some other things to like expand the ecosystem. I don't want to like rule it out. There hasn't been like any major swings at that just yet. Obviously Polygon, some things got leaked that they paid Starbucks around $20 million to launch on Polygon. So like that type of funding's next level. The thing with like the Solana aspect of it is it's like scaling from a tech standpoint, they anticipate being able to do 1 million TPS in the next like 3 to 4 months. So like that in itself is like what I think is going to be an advantage or a value add. But I don't know if we've really seen anything be able to gain 50 million people of interest. Like the space is still so small. Like do we even have 50,000 people still circulating volume right now? So it's tough to say. Like that question, I guess, could be asked for anything, Like I'm interested to see even like this is going to be completely off kilter, but Telegram's announcement on a custodial wallet and support for crypto is like interesting to me because then that's going to open up like peer-to-peer exchanges, and we don't know what the underlying tech stack is going to be for that. It could be their own completely proprietary token, which is becoming more interesting.
Well, they tried that right. They already tried to launch a token. They ended up with a lawsuit as a result of that, basically. And I think they had to like or undo it and pay people's money back, right? Like that was one of the biggest ICOs or potential ICOs in like 2018. I had so many investors that were like, investor friends were like, can you get me into Telegram right now?
But it makes sense. Like when you think about what Telegram does is like anonymous ability to send messages. Like that's what people want is like the decentralization. If that opens up a payment opportunity, that becomes extremely interesting to send currency back and forth peer-to-peer just based on that contact information. So like that's where I see an opportunity. We don't know what the underlying tech stack is going to be. But I think like things like that are what interest me to like, how do we get 50 million people interested in just the tech, which then expands into the pictures and like the underlying. I like the game theory a lot because like we haven't seen a massive game gain traction just yet, so we don't know what chain that's going to pick up on. And like there's attempts. You have Aurora, you have Star Atlas, which did get hit by FTX, and some of those other attempts that are gaining traction. But it's like, which one becomes the game? Like what becomes the Candy Crush of NFTs? Because that's where I think you get that opportunity.
How many TPS did he say there?
They'll have 1 million.
1 million TPS? My gosh, that's a lot of TPS right there, man. I have never seen a TPS number that big. My question is how many TPS does Matic have?
I don't know. Not 1 million.
Okay. Well, there we go. I mean, we need big numbers of TPS right now in order to like really just flex on people.
But it's just the transactions. Like when you think about actually playing a game, if you want it to be on chain, you need to handle it.
Oh, well, yeah. If you're trying to replace Redis an in-memory database provider, basically, or storage solution with Solana, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Although you would never, that's not how you would operate with most games anyways. But what were you about to say?
I was going to say, no one wants to hear about Redis. That's for sure.
We're down to 4 viewers.
Yeah. So we just went from 146 to 4 the minute you started talking about that. So that was tough.
Hey, Pio, everyone loves to know how many TPS. How many TPS you got, dude?
Not enough, buddy. So real quick, we want to definitely take any sort of like thoughts, any audience engagement. We got a gentleman here. I'm not going to dox who he is, but I want to hear if he wants to contribute to the show at all. Maybe not because it's an in-person situation. But if anyone has any thoughts, any questions, feel free to jump on the mic. We're also going to give away a portal based on performance in the arcade.
Maybe NBA Jam. I'm seeing.
NBA Jam's a good one. Street Fighter. Pac-Man, all the classics.
NBA Jam is a good one. Or if they got NFL Blitz, and maybe like you just have we do it team style basically, and then that narrows it down until then that team has to fight off among them.
I like it. Shout out to DGen Arcade for hosting us today in Wynwood in Miami. Shout out to DGen Arcade, and shout out to Haritos for sponsoring DGen Arcade. Definitely appreciate you guys having us pull up. I guess as far as other, NFT. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
In terms of other content, Easy, actually, I have a question for you about something. So one of the things that was discussed recently was, DeGods and or Utes moving from Sol to ETH. I'm curious your thoughts. If that's a successful transition, is that bullish for Solana NFTs, or is that bearish? Is that?
I mean, it's bearish. You're leaving one ecosystem and gaining legs on another. The thing is, you're basically just jumping ship. My concern would be there's a much bigger risk reward to that, in my opinion. If you don't gain the same level of interest that you have on Solana on another chain, your project goes to zero and can't come back. So it's you're basically, you just shot yourself in the foot. And if you don't maintain the same level of hype on another chain, or you don't even get 50% of your consumer base to move over there, that price action takes a dip, which just pisses off everybody who holds still.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so let's say they bridge, and let's say it is successful. They do well on ETH. Do you think do you think that's good, because then Solana projects will look to bridge, it's a pre-seed of Solana?
It's an outlier, though, is the thing.
You don't think that?
No, I don't think anybody can replicate what DeGods do. That's the thing. They're the project. If a smaller project sprints over there and is oh, DeGods did it, I think that the likelihood of them going to zero is that much greater.
Interesting. And so you think that it's really? Do you think it's important? Would you say it's important for them to stay on Solana for
Absolutely.
the Solana ecosystem?
Not even for the ecosystem. I think DeGods price action would go down if they went to ETH. If they took the entire collection off,
so
I think the price action would suffer.
Is there any update on that? Has Frank provided another update, because he was flamed for even implying that he was considering going.
The day that he did it was the bigger
yeah, it was just
issue.
Solana's dropped in price, so I guess
FTX went under, we're leaving. Basically, it was the sentiment on it, and everyone's are you kidding me? Because he got the if you were around for DeGods when they first minted, they got fudded to hell because of the way that they all kind of rolled out, and because he kept trying stuff on Solana and trying new things and taking stabs that this ecosystem developed, and these core individuals continued to only believe in it more, that he gained that traction. Then if you just abandon ship, the other thing is a lot of Solana traders don't trade on ETH. It's just kind of the ecosystem. They literally will write off ETH. There's a small percentage of them who are truly cross-chain, and a lot of them just like Solana because it's cheaper. That's just the mindset of it. They just like to trade there.
All right. Well, I'm not on.
You hold the tube though.
Well, and it just seems like a lot of unnecessary logistics to move on. And now that the price is back up, where's this tweet being my bad? Yo,
I fucked up. It's on me.
Instead, the move was I doxed myself. There you go. Okay, no one's.
I think what's more interesting though is that if they do another airdrop or something on ETH, that basically would bridge some form of true cross-chain potential. That's where I think that you could get more support, and then also people who on ETH, there's an army of people who genuinely hate Solana. We'll write it off for this is the worst thing you could possibly do. That you could still bridge an ecosystem of the ETH maxis who want to buy into this ecosystem because they like the project and don't have to go over there, and yet they still get exposure. And I think that's the best path forward would be reward the Solana early adopters, give them an ETH NFT. If they hate ETH, sell it, and now you have an exposed audience.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to it. I mean, it seems I agree.
Just driving the show forward, Nick. Gotta
So-
love it. Oh
so-
my God,
so-
what a host!
Sorry.
So I mean, Giancarlo, I don't know if you have exposure to Solana. I don't know what you think about like DeGods and that ecosystem. I view it as like the most legit ecosystem on Solana. And I mean, like the day of the FTX debacle, when that was the day where you were scared to have money on exchanges. That's like what peak fear looks like, is people were like, I can't have money on an exchange. So it's like if you wanted to buy Solana to buy NFTs, it was like, am I going to be able to buy this on an exchange and get it off? It was that bad. But that day, Utes went down to $500 and DeGods went to $1,500, and I was like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Didn't take action. Signal did. Shout out to Signal, but that was the time to buy, and then they pumped after that. What would it take for you to buy into something like that? Like, what would it take for you to get exposure to a Solana NFT like DeGods? Do you have exposure? Do you view it as legit? What are your criticisms of it? Like, I'd love to hear about how you think through something like that, you know?
So I do have a couple Utes, and I think I came around to DeGods. Like originally at the beginning when they came out, it was like a weird time in Solana where there was like a bunch of rug pulls and low effort projects, and I thought it was just one of those. They had like their paper bitch tax or whatever it was, paper hands. And so it took me a while to like understand that there was something behind the scenes that was actually like worth paying attention to. At this point, it's pretty clear to me that they understand, growth marketing, and they understand digital experiences, how to like have this relationship with holders, like all these key things you sort of need in this stage of NFTs. And also like I went to their headquarters in LA. They like all live together. They all work together. So they are like, this is kind of what you want. Like they're like in a hacker house, which I think is like an advantage over like 99% of projects in terms of just like
I hear that.
I know,
and I'm a little bit concerned. It just sounds very young.
It could be like fratty. But in general, like right now, if you just need to know marketing, growth marketing, and how to make just like well executed digital experiences, and you'll go far. And then from there, I wouldn't call it fake it till you make it, but eventually, you can raise more money, you can create products, and then just like hit the next phase, whatever they think that's going to be. And so there's like a few of those, right? There's like Azuki, like they really understand marketing. Obviously Yuga does.
Do you still hold Azukis?
I have one. Yeah.
So you're still holding it, but you had like 4 at one point.
Yeah.
You trimmed?
Yeah. They're in that like big FUD train. I dropped some, but I'm still.
But it still has crazy traction. Like it's not done.
And I think they're actually like, out of all the major projects, they're actually showing like a path to revenue. I think like they sold these golden skateboards, they made millions off that. I can see them like transitioning to like this luxury brand kind of product where they have the physical products and then that ties into like digital experiences and all these stamps and whatever. So they can really build that out and actually make money there and expand their audience. So
well, Spencer talks about how he feels that Zagabond understands the NFT space like as well as anybody else. I don't know if I'm misquoting you there.
No, look, like I think this is the thing. I feel this about a couple of people in the space is like what I'm feeling right now is that there's a class of people who founded projects that were really, really big in the last cycle, and they may or may not have understood the space super well, but they were first movers. They got all the resources. They got a lot of like the Web 2-ish people who are really understand the space are behind those projects. Like that's your Yuga. That's like, a couple of other projects, right? I think when I look at like something like Frank, something like Azuki, something like Luca with Pudgy, like those, that group, and something even like Gabe with Limit Break, there's like a group of really hungry people right now that are fighting and a little bit more active than those sort of legacy incumbents that I think are trying to prove that their projects are of the same caliber of something like a Yuga, of something like these other projects. And I think, the hungry person, it's interesting to watch them operate. And I see like the team with Azuki, the thing that just blows my mind is outside of the FUD around Zagabond specifically. Like if you look at what the company's actually delivered, they don't miss. Like everything they've done, the collabs with streetwear brands, like they've gotten really like Ambush is an incredible, like that's a hype brand right now. Like it's great partnership. Like if you look at who they had at their events, like they had, really famous DJs, they've had like the perfect sort of user experience design. Now you can look and say, okay, the way they've allocated their capital within the company, a lot of people have huge issues with how much money they spend on events, but I'd rather see, like if you're going to spend the money, do it right. And they did it right. And I think that's where like, even like, if you look at like what Ape Fest was, if a core component of Yuga is like access to Ape Fest was not that good compared to the like experience of what Azuki put together. So it's interesting to see. I also would say like the thing that like I always think about with Azuki, if you look at their website, it's just a masterclass. By far, it's like the best website in all of Web3. Like it's not even close. And I think that's
the good
like,
website theory is a valid one, right?
and it's just like, if you're digitally native, like understand the digitally native aspect, like that shouldn't be like that big a concept. And I think like, again, maybe they rug at some point. Like, I don't know, right? Who knows? But that's true of like a lot of projects, right? But probably more true of them. But I'll take that risk because if you look at the price action on it too, it's the least volatile. Like in the whole of the FTX debacle, it moved like 1.5 ETH and then like went right back up. Whereas even like Bored Apes went down from like 60 to 50 to 70. Like there's all this volatility. Azuki volatility is like ridiculously low compared to other top projects.
How do you classify the Azuki party being better than Ape Fest? One had like Eminem and Snoop Dogg, and then the other one had Azuki.
Bro, one was outside in the rain.
They had Lupe.
The other one was inside, and they had like this whole experience you walked through. Like you didn't have to stand around the whole time. There was food from really good vendors. Like I don't know, it was a different experience.
I feel like each one is different.
So ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest. We got the one and only Mr. Long in full cowboy garb. This one's for the Portal audience here. Mr. Long, what's going on, amigo?
Howdy, y'all.
You're gonna have to speak up. We don't exactly have a premier sound system here. It's not a Rage Against the Machine concert, but here we go.
I said, howdy, y'all.
Wow, what a response.
We got a good crowd here, y'all. There's no doubt about that.
Could you spread your legs further, Pio, so that we have more space? Like, why don't you just lie down on the street, like legit?
I was going to snap a picture for the Discord crowd because I represent them and show the under the table. But, I don't know. I had second thoughts, so I went against that. It's a beautiful man spread, though, Pio. My compliments to you on that. I really wasn't prepared, but you gave me a little nod, so I came up here.
What do you mean you weren't prepared? You got a cowboy hat.
I've been wearing this the whole time. I wasn't prepared to be up here, but I'm having a great time in Miami. It's I'm not used to this, but it's beautiful sun, ocean air. Nick and I went fishing yesterday, so we had a great time. Well, I had a great time. Nick didn't catch.
You mean I got fished?
Yeah. We went real fishing, though, out in the ocean. That, too. But he didn't catch a dang thing. I tried to tell him he was using the wrong bait. But Nick, he's stubborn. He just insisted on using the clickbait.
Yeah, I ended up using clickbait instead of what was the art piece? What's the art? Oh, my God, that I got fished by.
Oh, QQL.
QQL. I don't know the damn acronym. What does that even stand for, QQL? Anything?
Probably not, but it's high art.
We had a good time, though. He had an FTX keychain on his hook. He threw it in the water. He was shouting at the water. Marketplace collapsing. Yuga Labs is dead. He even tried a Carolina Sam sex tape. Not a single bite. Not a single bite. These fish down here must be stupid.
Well, you had jokes prepared, so we really appreciate it, Mr. Long. Everybody, please give Mr. Long a round of applause. Little soft docs. That was awesome. Thanks for coming, buddy. That was funny. So, Nick, will you buy a QQL now that you've been fished by QQL?
No. I have less money to actually purchase one, so now I'm.
You could have probably bought one with the money you got fished.
It's not. It's down to $10,000.
Probably close.
I think they're sitting at like 80th right now.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
So I literally could have bought an actual QQL. Well, that's
11 ETH.
11 ETH.
Still around.
Look on Blur.
Yeah, look on Blur.
That's pretty close. Although what's the QQL mint pass?
Oh, I'm in the wrong collection. There we go.
But that one, the 11 ETH is legitimate. Wow, 9.4 ETH. Yeah, so I guess I could have literally bought a QQL with the amount that I got fished. So yeah, I'm not buying one now. I'll tell you that much. Those dots do look very similar to Damien Hirst, though. I will add that as sort of just an observation.
Well, look, I mean, real quick, we can kind of talk about this since we have Giancarlo. My theory that I've been talking about is like the three sectors of the NFT space that have outperformed consistently over an 18-month period. In my opinion, like you can't even make a case against this. Is cartoon animal pictures, humanoid cartoon pictures, and generative art. QQL falls into the generative art category. Out of those three, if I think like really long-term, broad market adoption, I almost do kind of feel like generative art has the chance to be the most sticky. But for you, like, what would it take for you to buy into like a generative art thing? Do you own art blocks? Do you have interest in Tyler Hobbs, QQL? Like, what are your thoughts on that kind of theory? I guess on the collectibles and art side, which, based on your factory and casino theory, I don't know if that plays in for the long term.
I don't really have great taste in art. I'm not gonna lie. And so for me, this is like I never know when I'm on the inside of the joke or when I actually understand one of these. This is one that I didn't really understand that much.
You don't own a dick butt?
Well, that's a more of a meme, but I do like dick butts.
Sir, that is fine art. I'll have you know.
Yeah,
I think that's very offensive to the fine art community.
Right. So yeah, at Art Basel, I go into these galleries and they're just like NFTs on monitors, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. But in general, in terms of actual humans, I think generative art won't reach the numbers that you'll get from like more gamified experiences, actual games, avatars, and things like that. And we just don't know how much money can come from that group. Like we just never seen that kind of economy online. But in terms of like millionaires and billionaires spending, you'd probably see a lot of that get allocated to the art side as we see in like the physical world. And so I don't really know how that shakes out. If you have an edge, if you like this type of product, this is probably like it is kind of mixed with the casino stuff still, because you do see like limited supplies and they are collections, and you see a lot of the same people buying that. Eventually that might separate a bit more. And so it's hard to know like how much of art blocks is like people collecting the art, not ever looking at the price again, just like throwing it on their wall, versus like people just seeing this as one of the pockets that's still like thriving in the bear market. And it's probably a mix of both. But yeah, so that's kind of how I see the future of it.
There is a casino component to it, and I think, Node is pretty active in that. The question that I always wonder about is like, is this a group of people buying the generative art the true tastemakers? And that's the thing that I'm trying to like understand. It seems like we're tied into Christie's and Sotheby's and places like that, which is where the entire sort of like traditional speculative art market exists. So
but I'd love to know what the annual sales look like in that market.
55 billion.
55 billion?
Yeah, I think is the annual art market.
That's pretty good.
And well, we did that. NFTs did comparable numbers last year, and it was like essentially equivalent to the global art market or something like that.
It's almost like a 2x on.
Although to be clear, like that number of the global art market, that's not incorporating like private sales that are just like not documented.
OTC.
Which is why actually the blockchain space is pretty damn fascinating in the sense that you do have a record of all those transactions guaranteed. Whereas with like the traditional art market, someone can be like, yeah, I bought this from name your favorite, Colombian drug lord, real quick, and that person owned it. That's not like on paper, right? Like there's not like unless maybe there's a photo with him, at his house. That photo combined with the art becomes like really interesting. But that provenance is like essentially what a lot of that space is about. I think of antiques falling into that space as well, where you're basically just telling the story of this art piece. And that's something that, with, I guess, blockchain side, you can get a record of that. The irony is like the fact that you can get a record. A lot of the wallets right now are not necessarily known. And it's not like a thing that we like reference at this point in time. You don't have like everyone's hash memorized, although we now know that 9DCC is a blockchain reference to the contract where that's minted. Is it the contract or the wallet?
The wallet.
The wallet, which originally minted the contract, basically. So that's how that one's played out. But for the most part, people have no idea what any of those numbers actually mean. But in theory, that to me does seem like a lot of value. I'm curious to see when like the traditional art world is like, hell yeah. But like based on one of the guy on the plane that I had mentioned the other day, he was like, I have a few of those punks, and like, what should I do? He was like asking me like, what should I do with the punks? I'm like, I think the punks you should hold, and maybe apes, like it's worth holding. I can't tell you with anything else, literally. And there may be some like art items I could tell you that I'd be like, yeah, I feel pretty confident that that'll end up somewhere. But I have no idea at this point in time. But it was interesting to have someone who's in that traditional art space, could tell you everything about contemporary art, but could not, and would sell you on buying some like Damien Hirst or something like that, but couldn't tell you shit about like which NFT you should buy. That to me just means that that art world has not transitioned in this space. And then that's the real question to me, which is like, it's the people right now that are telling you to buy X copy, that are telling you to buy Tyler Hobbs and all this other stuff. Is the traditional art world also going to view that in the exact same way? So far, they kind of have. I think like with Sotheby's and Christie's, you know, selling CryptoPunks, it seems like they look at it and they respect some of the people that are in this space. But I have no idea. Couldn't someone else just come along and be like, this is the new the new artist? With that exception, we've seen on our own show some of those traditional art market people try to come on and drive demand for those products, and no one in the crypto space gives a shit, basically.
And the punks that were sold by Christie's were sold to crypto people, right? It's not like they weren't sold to the guys that are buying Jeff Koons.
Yeah, there's not like this cross-pollination to a large degree. There is cross-curiosity that I see that actually does bleed in somewhere, like someone who bought a generative art piece and is now a millionaire because they bought a Fidenza and now is a fine art collector all of a sudden, maybe looking at like, oh, like I kind of want a painting on my wall. And now they're researching it all of a sudden, whereas 2 years ago, they like didn't give a shit. But it feels like that's kind of like we still have these two silos. So it's crazy to me to be like, yo, I'm going to go buy it based on what some anon degen like claims is great art. And then instead, I just lean into like, I like that art piece.
The long-term thesis is sound in the sense of like people investing dollars into crypto art. In the short term, who knows? Like if you go into Block Talk and people are shilling like certain collections and you're like, hey, wait a minute. Like, were you buying like crypto dick piss like 2 months ago and now you're in here? Like, I remember your tag. So there's some of that. But one thing that we don't talk about that often is, yes, the investors are going to go into crypto art, but what about the artists? Right, because you go to Art Basel, and you know all the big artists are Basil.
Is it Basil?
It's Basil. It's Basil.
I like Art Oregano actually.
Yeah, Art Oregano. Art Oregano. I always get that mixed up. This is how deep I am in the art scene, as you can tell. You have all the big artists out there, and they're going to come too, right? And they're going to bring their fans along with them. And right now, not to diminish like the artists that we have in the space, because they're all very talented, but they're like the early adopters. They're kind of like a lot of indie artists. And so when these big guys come in, are they going to be paying attention to those? Or is it like as these other larger traditional artists are coming to crypto art, is that going to get the majority of the dollars? Like we don't really talk about that side of it as much as like the investors coming in.
Well, I think one thing that was really interesting was like the most recent Christie sales. This was the Christie sale auction that they did live where they had like Andy Warhols, they had Basquiat's, they had all types of the good stuff, right? They had Kusama, all these things, right? At the end, there was a couple of artists that got auctioned, which was Ferocious had a piece, a physical piece, and Alpha Centauri Kid had a physical piece. And I think those are two examples of people who are doing physical pieces now for those auction houses that came from the crypto world.
Maybe
and
Thank You X.
Thank You X is a good one. But I think what's interesting to me about these, that there's like a class of artists that I think the auction houses are king making, where they're like, but they're selling their physical pieces to crypto people, right? The question is, are they going to start selling the crypto to the to the traditional art collectors? I think there is appetite for that, but it's really clear to me that there's going to be a very small handful of people that the auction houses will try and king make in doing that. I don't know that it's going to be a PFPs. It might be punks. I actually, ironically enough, think crypto dick butts are pretty high up on the list of things that might end up at auction houses because they're just strange enough that it might work. But like when you look at who is what's actually going on, it's like there's just this very small, it's like 3 to 5 people that are the ones that they're focusing on, because from their perspective, they don't want to try and get anyone who's trying to come into the space. They want a couple of people. It's probably going to be the X copies. It's going to be the Tyler Hobbs. It's going to be, you know, you saw Seneca is having, who's the artist behind Bored Apes. She's having a Phillips auction, I think, today. It's interesting to see, but she's doing both physical and digital pieces. And it's just, I don't know that we figured out where art sits in this whole sphere. All they've seen is there's money to be made on both sides. And I think it's actually the most bullish case is if the auction houses can successfully onboard like the large institutional buyers. I don't know that they're the best on-ramp, though.
Yeah.
The best on-ramp might not be through the bucket of money they use to buy art. The best on-ramp for institutions may be through the bucket of money they use for investments. We don't know, right? Like, this is not obvious to me how this is going to play out.
We'll see how it plays out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Shout out to Horitos and to DGen Arcade for hosting us. Shout out to everybody that came out, the throngs of people. Hey, there you go. Thanks for joining us. We'll hang out. We'll do a little video game competition and give away a portal. But that's